Hello, it's me, Colton Johnson, with Empty Popcorn Bucket Productions. Welcome back to my Harry Potter Rewatch series and book review. If you haven't yet, please go check out my first two episodes covering years 1 and 2. I also recently made a video on my experience at the Harry Potter exhibition in Salt Lake City. It was very exciting, especially since I've been reading the series again. Before we start, I must say, I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. Well, let's hop on the night bus and maybe spin the time turner, since today we'll be covering Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This one is one of my all-time favorites, both the movie and the book. After Rowling finished the second book, she jumped right into the third. The Prisoner of Azkaban was published in 1999, the year I was born, and it was quickly considered the best at the time, and a very enjoyable read, which I do agree. The story follows Harry Potter, a young wizard in his third year at Hogwarts, along with his friends Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Harry investigates Sirius Black, an escaped prisoner from Azkaban, believed to be one of Lord Voldemort's old allies. There's a handful of mysteries to solve, and time travel is at play. This book is honestly one of my favorites, as mentioned previously, and I absolutely loved how the story evolved over time. The characters are more mature, and there are some amazing additions like Divination Class and the Marauders map. I love the expansion of the world, introducing more elements to the wizarding world, like the village of Hogsmeade. The story is also just so much fun, and there are a lot of great reveals. When I first read the book, I always felt like this one stood on its own because it's really the only book in the series where Voldemort doesn't directly play a part. But after this read, it's more apparent that the events of this book are very important for the return of the Dark Lord. There are a lot of other elements, like suspecting Sirius as a follower of Voldemort, but then revealing Peter Pettigrew was a servant of Voldemort all along, but in the grand scheme of things, it's very important. Even with my deep love of the movie, which I'll go over in a minute, one of my favorite aspects of the book that wasn't included in the movies was more of a backstory on the Marauders. It's such a major part of the story, especially with Harry's connection to them. His dad, Lupin, which was his professor, Sirius, who is his godfather and prison escapee, and the story revolves around his escape. And then Pettigrew, who we find out was hiding as Scabbers this whole time. There are just a lot of great details that the book covers that the movie just skips over, and it probably would have felt like a lot of exposition overload, so I guess it works well for the book and not for the movie. Another part that is missing from the movie is the Quidditch final, which, in my opinion, is one of the best matches in the series. My experience of listening to this chapter was on 1.5 speed, so it literally sounded like a sports announcer, but instead of like a sports game, it was Quidditch, and so that was pretty exciting. Overall, I love this book. It really gave me that feeling of not wanting to put it down, or in my case, I didn't want to stop listening to it. But I will confidently give this book a 4.5 out of 5. Though it's not the top of my favorite books in the series, it's still absolutely incredible. Now, let's move on to the movies. After the two great back-to-back Harry Potter movies directed by Chris Columbus, he decided to step down to fulfill other responsibilities. Alfonso Cuarón, despite reluctance at first, came and stepped up to be director of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Since the book's tone was more mature than the first two, and having a change in direction honestly benefited the production. Cuarón tasked the main three to write autobiographies based on their characters. Emma Watson's essay turned out to be a 10-page paper, which perfectly aligned with her character's personality. Daniel Radcliffe only had 2 pages, which were simple but well put for being Harry. And then my favorite, Rupert Grant, didn't end up writing the essay, in which Cuarón noted that at least he knows his character. Production ended up going smoothly, and this film was released in 2004. See, I may be biased because even before I had read the books, Prisoner of Azkaban was my favorite movie in the series. And what's crazy about this is that there's a handful of parts from the book that are missing, yet this movie is still amazing. It's sometimes hard to add exposition upon exposition, especially for a third movie in a franchise. And I felt like the omissions were appropriate, minus one or two things that could have been good additions for the movie. I feel like from a filmmaking perspective, though, this movie is beautiful. There are wonderful shots and cinematography that I just love. I love how the transitions between each seasons line up with the Whomping Willow, and it was just incredible, especially with the significance how the tree plays into the story. I feel like the characters, especially the main three, truly are now their characters. One slight gripe that I have is the way they casted some of the professors or other characters, especially Lupin, Black, and Pettigrew, to be so old. And I mean, I guess it matches with Snape being near the same age, but Harry's parents were 21 when they were killed, and they're close to the same age to the other Marauders and Snape. So honestly, they should have been in their early to mid 30s. Their performances, though, are amazing despite that. Gary Oldman is wonderful and did well as Sirius Black, as well as David Thewlis as Professor Lupin. That's why it's simply just a gripe. Other than that, I adore this movie. There's a lot of movies that I consider Christmas movie, with it not directly being Christmas movies. For example, Sorcerer's Stone has the magic of what a Christmas movie is, but for Prisoner of Azkaban, I feel like it's a good Halloween movie. With the Dementors, werewolves, and the overall darker tone, it just really gives me Halloween vibes. Now, let's talk about my favorite part of the movie, and why I absolutely love it. So obviously, my all-time favorite movie is Back to the Future. And it's a time travel movie. What can I say? I'm a sucker for them time travel movies. I also love the differences it can be in different movies. And what I love so much is how it's executed in the movie. Though yes, it comes from the book, but the way it's done makes it so much better. I just think it's brilliant that there are obviously moments which act as a third act to the story from the perspective of the main characters. The conflicts occur, Buckbeak is killed, the reveal of Sirius Black, Scabbers, and Werewolf Lupin, and then ultimately the swarm of Dementors and the Patronus saving the day. Pretty exhilarating if I do say so myself. But then, they're in the hospital wing, and we get the time turner reveal. Harry and Hermione go back in time several hours after Dumbledore gives her the idea to do so. Also, before I jump into what makes it brilliant, there's just so much imagery and hints to clocks and times that just make it so great. Alright, back to the brilliance. So they go back in time, and for one, we see things from a different perspective. And this kind of time travel is what you would consider a closed loop type of time travel. So it shows the inevitability of the use of the time turner, for one, by showing Hermione throwing the rocks to alert their past selves. Then with them saving Buckbeak, it's revealed that he wasn't even killed. We then eventually jump back into the forest where Harry thinks that it was his dad that swarmed off the Dementors with the protagonist, but it was him. And what's cool is that it wasn't deliberately revealed in the film, but his Patronus is a stag, and Harry's father's animagus, or animagi, what it's pronounced in the book, is a stag, so that's pretty cool. But this scene is amazing, and it's one of the greatest scenes in the series, and it almost gives me that same feeling that I get with my favorite scene from all of movies, which is the scene of George and Lorraine in Back to the Future when they kiss I love that movie. But I also love this movie. I apologize for my deep tangent of this time travel stuff. I love time travel, and that's probably why I love this movie so much. Another aspect, before I finish, that I love about this movie is John Williams' score. He provides such a beautiful score and adds so much to the world of Harry Potter. I love Buckbeak's theme, but the true standout, and probably one of the most standout in this entire series, aside from maybe Lily's theme and Hedwig's theme, is Windows to the Past. This is played throughout the film and sort of the theme of the film, and it's just beautiful, and I absolutely love it. It's just so, I don't know, so uniquely Harry Potter, but also just a beautiful score from John Williams, and I just love it. The score of Harry Potter is amazing, and this is the last film that John Williams composed for Harry Potter, and I felt like his themes played a big role into the entire series, so I'm grateful that was part of it. So, how well was the book adapted into a movie? This is where things get a little hard. The film itself is magnificent, but on the other hand, I do have to say, with the missing exposition from the book, it can lead to some confusion on the audience part. The movie does a great job capturing the true essence of the story and creating one of the greatest time travel scenes in all of film. Though it's not 100% faithful to the book, it still delivers a compelling narrative and absolutely a great time. Overall, it's spectacular and holds a special place in my heart. This movie rightfully gets a 5 out of 5. Before I finish this video, here are just some of my hopes for what I feel like they need to include in the upcoming HBO series once they get to Prisoner of Azkaban. For one, we need more time with the Marauders, along with their beef with Snape. We also really need more of Crookshanks, because Crookshanks played a massive part in the narrative. And then we also need that Quidditch final, because that would be amazing. What do you guys think of the Prisoner of Azkaban? What are your hopes for the HBO series? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. I would deeply appreciate it. You can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Letterboxd, links in the description below. Have a magical day. Mischief managed.